Welcome to another episode of Something About Sports, Something About Sports, Something About Sports. I am your host, Jake Eilerman. Welcome to another episode of Something About Sports, the sports podcast for, well, people that don't watch sports. And I'm actually being joined by the wonderful Dan Fraley. Here, who is a very avid, not sports watcher.
That's true. I actively don't watch sports.
It's a goal of yours.
I'll date myself. When I talk about sports, I'll date myself. Last time I watched anything remotely close to sports, Emmitt Smith was playing for the Cowboys. There you go.
Well, that's a long time ago.
It was a while ago, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Emmitt Smith's been through some court cases and everything since
He's doing Just for Men commercials now to get the gray out of his beard. That's how I know. Yeah.
Well, we are actually, I would say real quick, Dan, you want to plug the two podcasts that you're on?
Oh, I am on Hillbilly Therapy. I'm the co-host with a lovely Jake Hill, hillbilly extraordinaire.
No relation,
just a coincidence. And we have a lot of fun there. Give it advice, non-legally binding advice. And I got to cover our ass. And I also host the Exploder Wrestling podcast. We're doing a bunch of side projects with that. Wrestling Roulette just came out, and I have a new episode in the pipe that is coming out pretty soon, I'd imagine. And that's going to be fun. So I do the two, and then every once in a while I'll jump on here as a guy who knows almost nothing about sports. And I thought, why not? I'll come on a sports podcast because I'm a lunatic. So, yeah.
And that's what we want. Because like I said, we're a sports podcast for people that don't watch sports. So thank you for coming on. And we're actually this week, we're talking about with the NFL playoffs getting ready to start. And a lot of people, I know you don't play fantasy football, but we're getting into the fantasy football playoff time.
Okay.
So everybody that plays fantasy football has had that moment where they thought they drafted the team. They've had a good season. They, maybe they're undefeated in their league. They're ready to win that championship, have bragging rights, and then just plain failure. Whether it's your quarterback goes down with a knee injury, or because the real team's so successful, they sit out your star running back, and you forgot to check your team that day, and next thing you know, you're getting zeros.
The kicker is like the fantasy football people do it, and it's just like, I get the concept of fantasy football. That's frustrating, but there's really not a whole lot of, maybe a pool or something. There's not let's get in the game. And then real football teams do it, and they do it with millions of dollars. And sometimes the same thing happens.
See, it's funny that you say that, because once again, we're talking about football teams that did not win the championship, whether it be by bad play or just sometimes some, we'll say BCS.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So first of all, we're going to start off. We're talking about the 1990 Buffalo Bills.
Oh, the Bills.
Yes.
I actually watched around this time because that was when the Cowboys were kicking their ass every year.
See,
I was a Cowboys fan, yeah.
This is the Jim Kelly-led Bills.
Yeah, Jim Kelly.
13-3. At that time, it was almost unheard of.
Yeah.
To just be that dominant. They get to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And here's the Cowboys. Not 90, but I know later in the a couple years later they did.
In 90, it was actually the Giants.
Oh, losing to the Giants. Oh God.
Here's the worst part. They didn't get thumped, because a lot of the championships in that day were like 36-16 kind of games.
Right.
No, they didn't. They lost by 1 point.
Ah, jeez.
Because their field goal kicker kicks it just a little off his foot, and it goes just to the left.
Fun fact, when that actually happens, they just take him out back and shoot him. That's how it works.
The kicker almost wished that they had.
Oh no, they do. They literally
was defined.
That's why you replace the kicker every once in a while, because they just take you back and shoot you. Because you have one job and you don't do that well, it's over.
Yes, that is like one of the most heartbreaking, because this dude is just like,
right, yeah.
You talk about you have one job. This dude's like, I had
one job,
like,
yeah.
And the Bills have never been the same since.
No. Yeah, I remember that. I remember the early 90s. I remember those thing about the Bills. The early 90s, they had this tendency where they'd play really well, but then they'd either get right before, or they'd get to the Super Bowl and then they'd lose.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of what happened to the Cowboys. They did really well.
It happened like 4 years in a row, didn't it?
Yeah, it was something, because like in the early 90s, the Bills would go almost every year, and every year they'd lose. And then, but that was what happened. And then basically once they got to the point where they started losing, they just never recovered. The Bills haven't been the same, like you said, since the early 90s. They have not been the same. I know that much. Much.
They're getting there. They actually have the chance this year to win their division, because Tom Brady moved. Well, Tom Brady out of the division.
Right, yeah. I'm sure that helped.
And as this recording to put a little bit of right now, the Patriots are losing right now as we're recording this, because I'm watching my team actually play while recording this. So
he's a man of many talents.
Yes. The next one we're going to talk about when sometimes it's just not fair. Like when you do everything that you can, and sometimes it's just not fair. As we were talking about the 2004 Auburn Tigers. Okay. To give a bit of to our sports fans that are listening to understand this team, Ronnie Brown, who had a very successful NFL career, Cadillac Williams.
That's a name.
Had a very he had a pretty good probably about 4 or 5 year career, where because he was just a big bruiser back. So they would literally have Ronnie Brown as the finesse back, and then third and ones, they'd bring Cadillac in, who would just end up like, they'd be like, oh, we're gonna run him for 1 or 2 yards, and then he'd end up busting like a 46-yard run that they're like, he's supposed to be our power back, but he's also quick as shit.
Yeah.
And then Jason Campbell, who had a great career, I believe, with the Redskins. He was on this team, and here's the hard part. Sometimes you go up against a team that just beats you. It's devastating. It happens. But in this case, there wasn't a team. They were undefeated. Okay. They ended up, because at the time, we had the BCS, where they picked the top 2 teams based off the AP polls, and those 2 got to play for the championship. Auburn was number 3. Yes. So they went undefeated and did not get even a chance to play for a national championship.
There's a whole thing about that's shifty. That's one thing I will say about college football. There's a whole, I said, I have a cursory knowledge of it, not, this, that, and the other, but to me, that's always been really shifty. I don't think I've never heard of a league where championships are up to a vote. That's weird to me. Because like the
I-
NBA Finals are whoever wins.
I hated the BCS.
Yeah,
absolutely hated the BCS.
Like the NBA Finals, hell, the Super Bowl. It's who wins. You know what I mean? It's not it's not a democracy. Like who's the best? Who's the best? The 85 Chicago Bears. They won every game but one. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
They went to the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. That's how it works. You win. I don't understand the voting thing. That's stupid.
You look at that team, and they were dominating. They were dominating the SEC. Like, I mean, it wasn't even your Alabamas were sitting back going, "We're gonna have to change some shit up because
Nick Saban was doing some extra coke that day. It was weird.
See, Nick Saban, I believe at that time was at LSU. I believe.
Oh yeah, I don't know much about
at that time. I think that was before he went to the Dolphins, and then was like, "I'm not gonna leave. I'm the coach of the Dolphins."
Yeah. No one who's the coach of
the next day, he was on an airplane. He was on an airplane to Alabama. He's like, "I'm getting the fuck out of Miami."
Yeah. No one who's the coach of the Dolphins means that. They are always leaving. That's how it works.
Always. Either by choice or by decision. They're leaving.
Yeah, they're leaving. It's how it's working.
This next one's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot.
Oh boy.
It is. Because we are talking the 2001 St. Louis Rams.
The Rams.
We're talking my team here.
Right.
We're in LA now, but they were in St. Louis at the time.
Yep. Right.
So even at the time, I was a diehard fan. I had already gotten one Super Bowl, but little old me said, "I want another." And it was just a few months after September 11th. They were playing a team of the New England Patriots.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I remember that.
They had a very young quarterback, very inexperienced. Not a lot of people really knew who he was because he wasn't a star at his college of Michigan.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
So not a lot of people knew who he was, and he beat us. The greatest show on turf. Not only beat us, but then that kind of created the monster. That was the live that created the horribleness that was the Tom Brady era of football.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get back to Tom Brady in
we'll get to him.
Yes, because I run this show. I write this show. It's my show. We'll get back to him in a bit. We're going to talk right now about the 84 Dolphins.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Dan, you're not, like we've talked about, you're not much of a football person, but
yeah,
how many Super Bowls do you imagine that Dan Marino went to?
I don't believe any, if I remember correctly. I think that's one of the weird things about it. I don't think any, if not maybe one. I don't. Yeah, that's one thing. I don't remember. I remember that. I remember even when I paid attention. I remember everyone talking about Dan Marino, but I remember he never won the big one. You know what I mean? Like the thing is like, oh, he's good, but they're like, but is he though? I do remember that.
He's been to one.
Oh,
that is the 1984 Dolphins.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yes, and he got. Remember me earlier talking about some games end up 36-16?
Yeah.
That's because that's what happened to Dan Marino.
Oh, boy.
Not only did he make it to the Super Bowl, did he not win his Super Bowl? He got his ass kicked in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this one. I vaguely remember, like, I don't know, I saw an ESPN thing about it or something.
Yeah.
They were talking about something like some of the worst games ever, and that was one. They're like, oh, they got destroyed, and I vaguely
looked
remember
like
that.
garbage.
Yeah, that was a big thing. I was like, he gets there and then he just got destroyed. I'm like, oh, that gotta hurt.
And never made it back. That's one of those things. Like as a kid growing up, I mean, you talked about Dan Marino and everything, but you're like, man, he must have been, this. All kinds, it must have been Steve Young versus Dan Marino every year for the Super Bowl.
Well, people talk about they were franchise guys. I mean, and I'm going to go back to the 90s because, like I said, that's when I paid attention. They were franchise guys that people talked about, but in all honesty, there were, especially the quarterbacks, they were the big franchise guys. But I mean, only a handful of them actually went to the Super Bowl at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really like, you're talking
Steve Young.
You're talking about Steve Young. You're talking about Drew Bledsoe, used to be for the Patriots, and Dan Marino, and you had Warren Moon.
He got injured in 2001. That's what put Tom Brady in.
Brady replaced Bledsoe. I remember Bledsoe from the 90s, and you had Warren Moon up in Minnesota. And you had all these guys talking, but really, a handful of guys actually went to the Super Bowl. A lot of them were like, oh, we're good, but they never really got there. They were just okay.
They were okay. They were media quarterbacks before there was media, just simply because, they were the names that they sold jerseys.
They had video games. Remember Quarterback Club? That was a whole concept of video games based on that concept, just of quarterbacks.
Brett Favre's Quarterback Club.
Brett Favre, yep.
Yeah, I love that. N64, that was my jam.
Yep. Oh,
Well, see, when I make promises, I make promises. Because we've got one team left to talk about.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Yes. We are talking about the 2007 New England Patriots, whose quarterback, Mr. Tom Brady, had led his team to a undefeated season.
Yep.
Well, as a lot of people know, there's only been one team that has gone undefeated and won a championship. And that is the Dolphins.
Yep.
And nobody's ever done it ever since.
Nope.
Well, here was the thing about this season, because when the Dolphins did it, they played, I believe, 3 less games.
Yeah, it was 1972, I think is when that happened. Yep.
Yes. And so they played 3 less games. So if New England would win the championship, they would become the winningest team in history, completely eliminating the Miami Dolphins because of the 3 wins. Well, he had to go. He kind of had a rivalry in his heyday with a young man by the name of Peyton Manning. Well, when he decided in 2007, as they were getting to the Super Bowl, he had to go up against what I like to refer to as the other Manning, Eli Manning. And everyone pretty much said, it's the Tom Brady show. This is going to be the Tom Brady show.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, notice I said they could have. They could have won.
Right.
They didn't. They lost in the Super Bowl to the other Manning. Because of probably one of, if not the top 5 greatest catches in Super Bowl history. To where on, I believe it was a 3rd or 4th down, Eli avoids a sack, which almost everyone thought was about to be a sack, to just launch this ball and have who at the time I believe was a 4th string wide receiver catch this thing off the top of his helmet.
Oh dear.
Going the other, like he's going backwards.
Oh God.
and catches this thing on his helmet to one of the greatest catches that I'm pretty sure every night he, like, Tom Brady to this day still like wakes up and sweats because of this catch.
Yeah, I think God's against them at that point.
Oh, that's
at that
exactly
point. That's divine intervention. At that point,
this was before OBJ was even, getting drugs and money at LSU. This game was getting played. And that was one of those. I remember watching that because that was at the point where Tom Brady had become the villain of the NFL. Because I believe at that time he had won I think 4, maybe even 5 Super Bowls by that point.
Yeah,
that people were just sick of Tom Brady.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, great! And this SOB is now going to become the quarterback to the greatest team that's ever existed. Fantastic!
It became like Yankees heat. It got to the point where people hated the Yankees just because they kept winning every year. Yeah. It's very similar.
Like, people were so sick of it, and then it was like people were they hated on Eli. Like, they were like, we want the other Manning.
Yeah,
that's not how it works. They're like,
No.
can we change the rules and put Peyton in there? We don't want him to win.
Yeah,
like, I'm also a good quarterback, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're both your brothers, and you're in the NFL. I think they're both doing pretty well.
They're both now retired with 2 Super Bowls.
And you
don't think they're hurting that bad.
Right, and you don't trade at the Super Bowl. That is not how I know. Even I know that's not how the league works. Yeah. It's not.
The fans were just like, "Oh, Eli's the one to do it." Eli's like, "Dude, what? The hell, people? Like,
hell, man,
I got my team here. What the hell?"
Right.
Yes, that was one of the greatest. Simply because, one, I mean, it was such a cool story of, this the Giants kind of taking down Goliath.
Yeah.
And Eli being the one to literally throw the the rock to. And I say it was just like, even Tom Brady was like, I guess I had to cancel the celebration parties after. Like, he was like calling the caterer, like, am I allowed to cancel at the last minute? I'm still going to get charged. Can this night get any worse?
And the NFL had to ship a bunch of T-shirts to the third world.
Yeah. And
Congratulations, Patriots. Are like, shipping that away. Ship it away.
The third world countries were like, finally, the Patriots won one.
The Patriots,
every year.
Alternate reality, folks.
I just love to see this kid that's like, finally, my team wins. Reality, he has no idea. He has no idea that, like, I don't understand why everybody hates my team.
Right.
He shows up in America, like, to go to college.
He's got to wear one. Yeah, he has to wear one. They're like, that didn't happen. No, I got the shirt. Like, no, that didn't happen here.
No,
it's not.
He gets people that are high-fiving him because they think it's hilarious. Like, that's fantastic, dude.
They think he's being ironic.
Right? People are like, everybody's like, dude, that's hilarious. High five. And he's like, I don't know what's so funny about my shirt.
It'd be like if Marty McFly back in time and had the sports almanac.
Yes.
But everything was misprinted. Like, he made the best. You're like, that thing was a completely misprint. Like, damn it. I had my one chance.
He grabbed the wrong year. It's like 84. Yeah, I've got the 85.
And I was like, well, I had a good run.
Now I got to chase Biff around for an entire year and try to keep my mom from having sex with me. It's
well, there you go. Yeah,
that's not what happened in that movie.
Mostly, yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
This is not a movie podcast, but that's not exactly what happened in that movie. He tried You tried to keep one dude from killing them and the other one from humping
Yeah.
them.
Well.
Yeah. But that has been a wonderful trip down memory lane. That we had to talk about the day that I shed tears, and the second time I shed tears, but one of them was of joy.
The day Dan Marino failed and the day Tom Brady failed in the same episode. Yeah.
Right?
Dreams do come true.
And the day that Steve Young succeeded.
Steve Young. Wow.
I still hate him. I'm a Rams fan. I hate Steve Young.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
It's okay. Steve Young hates me, so.
Well, there you go. You're even.
Yeah. Somebody can share this on Twitter and see if that's true. Because
start a feud with you and Steve Young. I'm sure that'll go well.
The $1 million quarterback.
Oh yeah, he's so pissed.
Yeah,
he's pissed about this podcast in Ohio. He's pissed.
Dude, could you actually imagine? Like he goes on NFL Live and he's like, I just want to let this be known. I don't hate that. Like,
yeah.
Why am I on NFL Live? Like
either way, publicity. That's all I'm saying. Let me tell you something, Boomer Esiason. Oh, whatever. I just picked a quarterback I could think of. I don't know.
Yeah. But I would like to thank you, Dan. Everybody check him out on the Exploder podcast and all the side projects he does with that. Also check him out as the co-host on Hillbilly Therapy with him and Jake Hill. I've listened to a couple episodes of that. It is a great podcast. It always makes me laugh. So you guys are doing great things over there. That's about time for us. You guys out there, you guys have a great night and be safe. Welcome to another episode of Something About Sports, Something About Sports, Something About Sports. I am your host, Jake Eilerman.